Good morning everyone and welcome back to another episode of Barham Engines. As I said in the last few videos guys, if you haven't already, please hit that subscribe button. It's totally free, and the notification bell, and you'll be notified every time that we do another video. Thanks very much guys. So the Lagonda is almost there and we're just setting up the Vernier pulleys now on the front. You can see on this one, because we've got no room on the front there to put the Vernier scale, I'm doing it on the flywheel on the back here. So it doesn't make any difference, you just got to remember that it's going backwards. So on this particular engine, the crankshaft goes clockwise, but the cams turn anti-clockwise. So when you look at this on the back, although you're turning it anti-clockwise, it's correct for the cams. But anyway, we have set up, first of all, we have done the inlet, which is on the left hand side from the front, and the exhaust is on the right hand side. So we've done the inlet. I'm just going to show you sort of roughly how we do the exhaust. So on this paperwork, you see here that full lift on the exhaust camshaft is peaked at 110 before top dead center. So we have set our gauge. Obviously we've got true TDC on the piston, and you can see down there 110. We've got this marker and the crank is set there at 110 degrees. So what we need to do is get a DTI gauge on the top of the valve spring, and we've found absolutely true top dead center of the lobe on the camshaft of full lift on the exhaust. So now we've done all that, I'm not going to go through that guys, because you've seen in previous videos how I do that, but I'm just going to show you this type of Vernier setup. So if you see the camshaft behind there has got a series of holes attached, and then there's another pulley that goes here with another series of holes with the chain on it. So obviously you've got to get everything tensioned up right, which it is, and you can see all the holes are offset to each other. So what you do when you found absolute top dead center of the camshaft, by sort of turning the camshaft, what we do is we find the hole that matches up with the back hole as best you can, or as sort of as good as it gets, which looks to be this one here. What we do is we've got this plate with a peg in it, and we quite simply put that plate, or put that peg in that hole that goes in that one the best it can. There we go, and that is in there now, and that has basically meshed the chain with the camshaft in that position. Then what we do, we've got this cover which locates onto that, and you see the three holes at the back. Basically we just put the bolts in and do them up, and it's as simple as that guys. And then obviously we turn the engine over and just double check to make sure it all marries up. But yeah, as I say, on here it's 110 degrees bottom before top dead center on the exhaust, and on the inlet it's 108. So that's what we've done guys. It's as simple as that. And all John's got to do now is just put the few extra bits on, put the rocker covers on, and it's all done. Right everyone, I know I've showed you this before, but this is a Focus ST block. So this is the Volvo 5-cylinder 2.5 derivative that's in the ST Focuses and also the RSs. And I just thought I would show you this one, because this is a particularly bad one. I've shown you before what they can get like, and still seem to run okay with these Focuses. Basically, I think the story is with this one is it blew a gasket, and it got to the point where I think the customer just sort of kept driving it. He's building it himself, and he wants us to just do what we do to quite a lot of them, is just face it and deglaze the bores. But as you can see, it's looking rather grotty in those bores. And the gasket would give a 5 thou clean. This is 10 thou now, but you can see how much the block has sank down in the middle. We've had it before where we've had to take about 0.5 mil off the face of these blocks. We've deglazed the bores, or honed the bores, and they've been about 3 thou oval, and the customers chose to fit new rings to that and build it themselves, which is entirely up to them. And it seems to work, but obviously, certainly we wouldn't be doing that, but yeah, it just absolutely amazes me with these how bad they actually get, but still keep going without really giving any symptoms. When they get to the point where they start showing head gasket symptoms, they're really well and truly gone, and what tends to happen is these cylinders just sort of sink down in the middle. So yeah, quite a bad one that, guys, but I'll stick the hone down once I've faced it and show you what it's like. If you're wondering what the ladder is, guys, one of our heaters has been playing up. The igniter has stopped working, and the first 2 days of this week was absolutely Baltic in here because we've only got one over in the corner there working out of the 4. We've had the gas man in, and he's gone to see if he can find some new gas regulators or something so we can hopefully get all 4 working for next year. But at the minute we've got to get up there and ignite it ourselves, which probably ain't that safe, but needs must. Anyway, guys, thumbnail and title. We've had a lot of people ringing us up over the last year or so. What brings me onto this subject is we had a customer ring us up the other day and have a bit of a moan about something. Now, just from speaking to a lot of people on the phone, it seems these days with the internet and forums and all this, that people are, it's dangerous really, because people are sort of obsessed with going on forums, listening to people, people's advice and people's sort of technical data that really they shouldn't be saying because they're not qualified or anything. And these guys are taking this as gospel. Now, the ones we find the most dangerous are the people that want to get involved with the build themselves. They haven't got a clue about the technical side, the measurements, the machining processes. They're sort of self-educating themselves. They're keen and they can put an engine together. But when it comes to motorsport engines, race engines, as many of you all know that do that sort of thing, there's a lot more involved than just putting an engine together. So we find the most dangerous ones are these guys that go out, get a bit of knowledge from forums and books and what have you, and things they read on the internet. They go out, buy themselves a vernier, maybe a micrometer and even a bore gauge, and they don't really know what they're on about. And so what brings me onto this subject is we had a guy that we did a Honda VTEC engine for, a 2 litre. We machined all the engine and he supplied some competition pistons and what have you, and we machined all the engine for him to go away and just put together. Now, as many of you may know, on pistons alone, if you've got a motorsport piston, depending on the manufacturer, they all run different running clearances. And not only that, but like with the American stuff and that, you find that you get a chart giving you different running clearances for different applications. Now, bear in mind, this engine was going to be turbocharged, so it's not the normal naturally aspirated. So you're going to be running a slightly bigger ring gap and also maybe more running clearance. Now, as I say, on the American stuff, a lot of the time they come with a chart giving you whatever application you're going to be running, the recommended running clearance. It's not gospel. Over time, you know, bear in mind we've been doing this for years and years, you tend to just sort of know what works, what's going to work, and what's going to keep you in that reliability sort of band as in tolerance. Anyway, this guy's rang me up and basically having a right old rant. He spoke to his mate, who's an expert, and what he's going by the clearance that you should run on a standard piston for that engine. Well, obviously these pistons run slightly more anyway, and not only that, but for the application, you know, he's going to be running big boost, you run a slightly bit more clearance anyway, so we probably put on half a thou, whatever. And I said it'll be absolutely fine. He weren't having any of it. He had a right old rant at me that he's gone out and bought these pistons, now they're scrap, and what we're going to do about it. I said, well, nothing, because that is what they're meant to be running. So, bit of a Karen moment there from him, guys. As I say, the ones with the measuring gear and little knowledge can be quite dangerous. We have been doing it for years, and you know, we tend to know what works. If you read the tech sheets, you should stay off the forums, guys, to be honest with you. But yeah, let's see what comes of that. He's sort of gone for now. If he comes back, I'll give you some updates. But yeah, probably best, guys, speaking to the experts rather than your mate down the pub. So we're still waiting to hear back from the customer on the Pinto engine. Guys, as you see, this is all in bits, just waiting for the go-ahead on that. But as you can see over here, this is a BMW V8. I think it's out of a 745i BMW. Big old V8, and as we know by these BMW V8s, they use about 3 different coatings on the board. So they can either use a cast iron liner, they can have Nickersil bores, or they can have Aliasil. And looking at this one, that is Aliasil, and basically it's a sort of silicon impregnated into the aluminium, really, that gives you a sort of a tough lubricating surface. Tends to be very good and hard wearing. Don't really have a lot of issues with this Aliasil bores, and fortunately, looking at this engine, it doesn't look to be too bad. Haven't really had a look at the cylinder heads yet. Paul's just ripped it to bits yesterday, and apparently he's got a bit of a crank issue. So this is the first time that I've looked at it. Looking at the big ends, they do feel a little bit rough, but no real sign of it doing any ends. There was just sort of debris in the oil. If you see in the oil down there, it looks a bit grotty and a little bit creamy. So yeah, we're going to be going through this with a fine-tooth comb, guys, but I quite like doing these, providing there's no real damage to any major components on these. It's pretty much just Meccano. There's not much machining you can do on it. We normally just go and buy the genuine BMW parts. They're almost, if not as cheap as any aftermarket parts, and they're quite nice to put together, really. So obviously we'll be going through the cylinder heads, seeing what it needs. We haven't took the main caps off yet. You can see it's a nice 4-bolt main on these engines, nice and tough. But fingers crossed it hasn't done any damage to the mains housings in the block. If it hasn't, then at the very worst, it'd be a crankshaft if need be. But so far, so good. So let's just get a bit more involved in it and see what's going on. Well, there we go, guys. The Lagonda is all ready to go. John has just filled it with oil, and we are going to turn that thing over to make sure that we've got oil pressure. But apart from that, rocker covers are on, all the little bits and bobs are on, and that is going to be ready to go back to the customer. Really nice engine, that. And as I say, this has been lying about for some time, and John's done really well in remembering where all the bits go, to be honest with you. It's thanks to Paul. When Paul stripped it, he did take some photos, fortunately, which helped us along the way. But yeah, all back together, and hopefully going back to its owner very soon. Well, that's it for another video, guys. I hope you have a wonderful weekend. Let us know down in the comments what you think of today's video and our thumbnail and title section. See you Monday. Thanks, guys.